What if, in a blink, you shrunk to just 1 millimeter tall? One moment you're scrolling on your phone, sipping coffee, and the next, your entire world has exploded into a massive alien jungle. Your living room carpet looks like a forest of spiky towers, a crumb on the floor, bigger than your head, and your cat, now a skyscraper-sized predator, stalking the tiny version of you. Welcome to iPhology. If you're new here, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps us a lot and keeps us making more of these mind-bending scenarios. Alright, let's shrink. At 1 millimeter tall, you're about the size of an ant. Which means, suddenly, physics isn't the same anymore. The rules that worked when you were human-sized, they don't work down here. First, let's talk about your strength. Ants can carry objects many times their body weight, sometimes up to 50 times. That's because as things shrink, their mass decreases faster than their strength. Your muscles may be tiny now, but relative to your size, you'd feel superhuman. You could lift objects that, scaled up, would be like you bench pressing a car. But before you feel like a Marvel superhero, here's the bad news. Your voice? Gone. Your vocal cords can't move enough air to make sound waves humans can hear. To anyone else, you'd just be silently screaming at the carpet. And that's if they could even see you. Because at 1 millimeter tall, you'd basically disappear to the naked eye. And then comes the biggest problem, water. At your new size, a single droplet of water would look like a giant, shimmering bubble, bigger than your whole body. Try stepping into one, and instead of swimming, you'd get stuck, trapped by surface tension. In fact, that droplet could suffocate you in seconds, sealing you like plastic wrap. Food doesn't get any easier. That single crumb you dropped earlier? Sure, it's a mountain of calories, but your teeth and jaws are now too small to bite it properly. You'd need softer microscopic food, like sugar crystals or tiny drops of juice. And then there's the air. Breathing would be complicated. At 1 millimeter, the air feels thicker, like syrup. You'd struggle to pull in enough oxygen with lungs that small. Insects don't have lungs. They use little tubes called trachea that let oxygen diffuse directly into their bodies. Unless your biology magically adapts like an insect, you'd suffocate in minutes. And let's not forget predators. Spiders, ants, wasps, creatures you used to ignore, now tower over you like monsters from a nightmare. An ant colony might see you as food, a spider's web, a death trap you couldn't escape. Even dust mites in your mattress would look like giant armored beasts. But these are just the start of your problems. Because shrinking to 1 millimeter doesn't just change your size. It changes the very physics of your existence. So you've shrunk to just 1 millimeter tall. The carpet is a forest. A droplet of water is a deadly balloon. And every insect around you is a monster waiting to crush you. Could you actually survive this way? Let's find out. First, mobility. Walking would be exhausting. At that scale, tiny fibers on the carpet would feel like tree trunks you have to climb over. Even a flat floor wouldn't feel flat anymore. Every scratch, bump, and dust particle is now an obstacle course. What used to be a simple walk to the kitchen could take hours. And don't even think about stairs. One step would be like scaling a cliff. But let's say you manage to move around. Now you face temperature. At 1 millimeter tall, your surface area is massive compared to your volume. That means you lose body heat incredibly fast. What feels like a comfortable room to humans would feel like a freezer to you. Without shelter, you'd risk hypothermia in minutes. Insects survive this by hiding in insulated places or producing chemicals that help them resist the cold. But you, without adaptations, you'd be in serious trouble. Now comes the biggest question: survival food and water. Every drop of water is deadly, but you still need hydration. Your best bet would be licking tiny droplets or condensation, the same way ants and flies drink. As for food, you'd have to switch diets completely. Forget steak or pizza. You'd need to nibble on microscopic particles, sugars, or soft organic matter. Maybe you'd sneak crumbs from the edge of bread or fruit. But even then, digestion might fail because your organs weren't designed to process food at such a tiny scale. And predators? Oh, they're everywhere. At your new size, ants could rip you apart with their jaws. Spiders would trap you instantly. Even a ladybug could crush you in one bite. And then there's the most terrifying predator of all, your own household pets. A curious cat pawing at the floor could kill you instantly. A dog sniffing around might inhale you by accident. But let's zoom out further. Physics itself becomes your enemy. Gravity doesn't affect you the same way anymore. When you're tiny, air resistance dominates. That means if you fell from a table, you might float gently like a feather instead of smashing into the floor. Sounds like good news, until you realize that even a light breeze from an open window could sweep you away like a leaf in a hurricane. So could you survive at 1 millimeter tall? Realistically, not for long. Your lungs wouldn't deliver enough oxygen. Your body would lose heat too quickly. Food and water would be impossible to manage. And predators would end your adventure before you even made it past the living room. But let's imagine a twist. What if your biology adapted perfectly to the new size? In that case, you gain superhuman strength relative to your weight, incredible agility, and survival skills similar to ants and spiders. You could climb walls, survive falls, and maybe even explore the micro-world as if it were an alien planet. So in the end, shrinking to 1 millimeter tall would either be the shortest nightmare of your life or the start of a tiny, terrifying new world. This was iFology. If you enjoyed this thought experiment, make sure to hit subscribe, leave a comment with your wildest survival strategy, and join us next time for more mind-bending what-if scenarios.